welcome to the Women in Leadership Archives YouTube channel. My name is Scarlett, and today we'll be making paczki, straight from our archives. These traditional Polish donuts are a mainstay of Fat Tuesday and Fat Thursday celebrations. The recipe we'll be making today was published on February 12th, 1984, in the newspaper of the Polish Women's Alliance of America, titled Głos Polek, or the Polish Women's Voice. Thanks to a generous grant from the PWAA, we were able to digitize over 60 years worth of this newspaper in order to make it available to researchers around the world. We were also able to have some translations done of fascinating articles about suffrage from Polish into English. You can read more about Głos Polek and the recipe below, but for now, let's get started. First, I've got some milk that I've scalded, a cup and a half, and 4.5 teaspoons of yeast. So we're gonna wake it up. The milk is cooled to around 105 degrees, so it won't kill the yeast. It'll just wake it up. We'll give that a little stir. And that'll set aside while we do the other steps for the dough. So next, here I have a stick of room temperature butter and a half cup of sugar. And so we're going to blend them together until fluffy. All right, so this looks fluffy. Now we're going to add 3 eggs. Right in. And a teaspoon of vanilla, right here. Vanilla extract. And I've already measured out a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of nutmeg. So that goes right in. And we mix again. Alright, so it still looks pretty soupy. It's okay. Our next step is going to be to add the flour. I have 4.5 cups of flour measured out here, and our milk mixture, which is getting a little bit foamy, as you can see. And the recipe says to mix gradually. So I interpreted that as sort of add about 1/3 of each, mix, do the next 1/3, and then keep going. So until you got everything in. We'll do 1/3 of the flour. All right, that's pretty well mixed. And so we'll do the next 1/3. So even though I'm just on low, you can see it's getting a little thick for the mixer. So this is the point where I'm going to switch over to a wooden spoon. Goes. We'll just scrape out that last bit of yeast that likes to stick to the measuring cup. And we mix. All right, so it's getting a little bit hard for me to stir by hand, so what I'm going to do is turn it out onto a floured surface and do a little kneading by hand. And I'm not gonna be too shy with the flour because I found that this is a pretty sticky dough and it needs a good floured surface in order to get to a less sticky but still proper consistency. So here we are. I'm gonna turn it out onto floured surface. Get all the last bits of dough that like to hang behind. And get going. And this is the fun part. Well, it's one of the fun parts. So we're almost there. It's getting a lot smoother. I'm just gonna give it a little more flour and a few more turns for good luck. So my next step is I have this nice large bowl with a little bit of olive oil at the bottom, and I'm going to use back my hand to just sort of spread it around so that our dough is less likely to stick as it rises. And I also want to make sure I get all the sides of it, so I'm just going to wiggle it around in there a little and flip it over. All right, now we're just going to take a nice towel here and cover it lightly. Fold the ends over, just to keep them out of the way. And I've already got the light on in my oven, but the oven is off. So I think that creates just enough warmth. You can also turn on your oven and then shut it just on warm, and then turn it off as soon as you put the dough in. You just want to create a nice warm environment. You don't want to actually cook it yet. And it'll rise for about 2.5 hours until it's doubled in size. So I'll see you in 2.5 hours. So our dough has doubled in size. So I'm going to take off the towel and punch it down. Sort of help it a bit. And it's gonna go back in covered to rise while we set up. The recipe doesn't say how long the second rise should be, so I figure as soon as I'm ready and for the next step, I'll just go ahead and go. So see you in a bit. Okay, so here is our dough. Let's set this aside. We are going to turn it out. You can see it should come out pretty easily. And we'll just wake it up. It's not quite kneading, just want to sort of say hello. It's a little under 1/2 inch, and I think that I won't go any thinner than that. So now I'm going to use a glass. It's about 2.5 inch diameter. And I find that's a good size. The recipe doesn't specify what size to cut it out to. So we're gonna cut 1. Here's some of the bubbles in the dough popping. That's a good sign. All right, and I'll show you how to fill them. Our filling is a plum butter or a prune butter. It's very thick. The recipe calls for this or apricot or peach preserves or a rose jam, as long as they're thick enough. You don't want them to be too runny or they might leak out while you're frying. So here's a little small amount of the filling, and I'm just gonna, maybe not even that full amount, put that right in the center. Do 3 more. So here we go. We're going to pick up our first one and just sort of pull the edges. You want to spread it and give it like a tiny pizza. Right, so you have enough to work with, and then just kind of gently, you can do 2 sides, then the other 2 sides, and you want to pinch them really well together so that it's sealed all around the filling. That one's pretty good, so it'll look kind of like that. And then I'm gonna set them to rest. Pinch side down on a parchment-lined baking sheet. And once I have enough of them, I'll cover and I'll do the second tray. So again, I'm gonna stretch the edges. So I've got enough to work with. And there we go. Pinch them all closed. And you can get the prune butter at European grocery stores, or any store with a good international area. Alright, that one looks good. Maybe a little more. Alright, there you have it. And they may look kind of small, but they're gonna fry up to a pretty decent size. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the rest, fill them, and we will be back to fry. All right, so my oil is up to 350 degrees. I've got my draining station here with paper towel on a rack, cinnamon sugar in a bowl, and a platter. And then our punchkis are ready to go. So I've just got a little bit of dough here. I'm gonna test out the oil and make sure it's not too hot. Let's see how it goes. I'm gonna go ahead and add in my first 4 punchki. Now the trick here is to get the side that's been down, the pinch side, you want to go into the oil first so that it fries up and doesn't expand and open up. And the way you want to do this is sort of put it towards you and then away. So you want any oil that's going to splatter to go away from you. And they don't all like to do that, but that's the goal. There we go, number 2. And here we go, number 4. Okay, there's our test one. Okay, there we are. Time to flip. Batch number 1 coming out. Shake off the extra oil. And then I'll get the next batch in and then toss these in the cinnamon sugar. So here we go. One. Alright, so you can see on these, they stayed sealed. They didn't open up. And while they're still hot, you want to roll them in the cinnamon sugar so it sticks. And there you have it. Close-up shot. Get it all covered. Alright, these look like they might be ready to flip. There we go. You see that nice color on them. And again, these have stayed sealed. That's exactly what we want. I also took the rest of the scraps and cut smaller ones that are more like donut holes. And then just sort of got some random shapes out of the rest of the scraps because it doesn't like to fry up well, but they'll still taste good. Alright, and I'll just fry up the rest. Just like this. Alright, so here we have our finished tray of punchkis, straight from the archives. They smell amazing. And of course we have our plate of scraps, all sorts of shapes and sizes. But of course we have to try one. So, here we go. see the filling inside, nice and fluffy. And the moment of truth. They're not too sweet, they're fluffy and with just the right amount of cinnamon on the outside, and still crunchy on the outside as well. So thanks for celebrating Paczki Day with us at the WLA. If you try out this recipe, tag us on social media, and remember to subscribe to see our latest content. See you next time.